Now, conclusion. So maybe a person has, done their homework like me for the day or night or the, date, and now have a brain and mind filled with neuroscience, neuropsychology, neuropsychiatry, and a house, an apartment with people next door, with people downstairs, with people to the sides, and crissing and crossing who have mental illness, disorders, or plain old in need of some sort of health assistance, and live here like me, maybe because they can't go anywhere else either, and can't work 2 or 3 jobs, go as fast as baristas and as quick as servers in restaurants. With those kinds of human emotions, problem solving, social dynamics, and much more. Not just now, but when the schedule comes out and you don't get enough work and you have to maybe just go be homeless like me along the way to just not have to sell drugs, buy drugs, do drugs, do sex with strangers, do sex with friends, do sleepovers, do couch surfing, do internet meetups, do a lot of different tasks, work, a whole number of different descriptions. And the recognition of the brain, mind, and then the body help calm the process a little bit. In current psychology and psychiatry, a lot of people talk about the self. And for me, the self is kind of like doing this kind of activity. Because I like, looking fancy and pretty, and I like, talking normal and looking good, but I think after having had cancer, I'm just not a good person to put in front of a camera and not make a joke out of what I see, and then what the watcher, the viewer, the listener of this video might see or decide after hearing me say these words about what I'm seeing now. And some of the benefits for the example I'm giving now. Mostly what I'm describing has to do with the self. Some people are self-conscious, some people are self-aware, some people are self-centered. And then maybe once in a while a person like me is just like, why do I gotta say a word out loud? I'd rather my food get done, It's for me, being mildly autistic, not as big of a deal with the emotion and the consciousness of everything. I choose to learn and not just do what friends do what acquaintances do, vote for Bernie Sanders, work 3 jobs, live in a room with 3 other people and, walk my dog 2 times a day, feed the dog 2 times a day, do it the next day, do it the next day, do it the next day, and say climate change will go away when we do these kinds of options, and not want to pull out my hair and then have to look at myself like, oh gosh, starting to have memories again, The self has some benefit for the memories. You start having memories, you can, you can do spiritual practices with mirrors, the recognition of the self. It's the baby seeing their body, brain, and mind for the first time. Not the baby saying, oh, I look good, with like some fancy Nike shoes and like a hat going. But the recognition of brain and body. And for some kids, the mind too. 3-year-olds playing gymnastics and doing some sports, and you're like, whoa, they are way more focused than me on this mind and body book, and way more concentrated to not make a final now video and not just go in that kitchen and say, okay, Space Turtle, this is gone on enough. You need to stop flying around up there, and you need to turn that thing on and start to heat up that broth faster. The self, mind. I've heard parents describe it as, good, you're listening to yourself. And I've also stared down at the ground long enough, maybe once before, but maybe more than once, and not been able to hear myself, And that was when I kind of started to have some trouble with the term self. And there's other problems, with other stuff. Even now, it's like, gosh, it's such a spiritual kind of traditional word now. Om. And it has to do with the benefits kind of going and going and going and going and stretching out almost for infinity. And not having the awareness. And just being very attention focused, paying attention to yourself. Gosh, someone's gonna really make fun of me. I sound like I sound like a raving lunatic. And also not being hard on the self, the mind. In the brain, the mind in the brain, the mind in the brain. Or maybe people have the terminology self as the body. People are listening to their body. But then it's more self-awareness. And self-awareness has to do with the body awareness. Body awareness, I think, being a little more beneficial and specific, and a choice worth making. Good to have body awareness so you don't bump into some woman and they get hit with her purse. Or you pet a service animal and they go, I've had it happen with the German Shepherd. That's just saying. And the dog went, ugh. Cool. Bad day to say hi, I guess, And living in an apartment and not being self-conscious and self-aware and self-alert to what I'm doing. Not all the time. When I'm playing music, yeah, I gotta be self-aware, but not mind ready at all time. Mind and brain, they get tired like the body, lifting some weights. And you're just like, oh, I'm gonna do it forever. And then your arm just goes, then you might have to go to the hospital. I'm just saying. So there are benefits to self. There are benefits to now because it's a good word, now. But too religious, some people get scared. I get scared too. I don't want to be in a cult. No offense, I don't want to make the cult mad, but sometimes they are a little culty. The self, can help with the awareness and the attention of the body, brain, and mind. And then can make for a good night. Like, okay, I'm centered, I'm self-aware, I'm self-conscious. I know, okay, I don't have a grizzly man beard. I don't have, colors in my hair from some rave I had with my service animal sloth and wolf. I've got good food, bone broth and vegetables, and also can recognize, okay, the coronavirus, I can't nanny as much this month, so my food budget's gonna go. But strong enough as a self, mind, brain, and body, whole brain, whole body, to have prepared, to be ready to survive with the difficulties that might be ahead this month with the coronavirus. And then self really can make life better. Fun too, it's like it's like what I saw before, and nobody else can see on the video because I cover my face on the recording, and it still shows on that camera. But to pay attention to the self, be self-conscious, self-aware, self-responsible. I don't make people feel stupid, ignored or dumb. And the prank's a little funny, but eventually you're like, that was funny, wasn't it? And then it's like, yeah, okay, but then you're hanging out and having fun. But going out and saying in the world, like, hey, you need to pay attention to yourself, and I'm gonna kill you the next time I see you. Those are choices and decisions where self gets to be very dangerous. And practices like no mind meditation could have some benefit for the world. And also some limitations, not meeting as many people, not interacting as much, but always being safe and being able to survive. So with stand-up comedy, a similar kind of survival has to do with not just making fun of the war veteran and not being respectful and saying, well, I salute, but, I don't give orders, and I don't play third games. I don't play ma'am games. And then to the other people, having troubles, like, it's like, yeah, I'm making a video and I'm going to end it as soon as I can. And all I'm trying to describe is, the self. And then what I was holding in front of the camera, the zebras walking. But it's the mom and the baby, and the baby's getting body awareness, staying close to the mom, self-awareness to, know like, okay, I need to eat, and then the brain, body, and mind for the zebra, maybe just the brain and the body, or I don't know how smart they are, but when they start to function correctly and work coherently, they make sense and help. The end.